Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Again, Khalid Malik is here for your service. Now we are at lecture 2 for Master in English students. I've already discussed in lecture 1 the syllabus of Master in English for almost all Pakistani universities. Islam University Bahawalpur, Bahawalpur University Multan, the syllabus of Punjab University and also University of Karachi. Almost we are going to start the same, which is all around Pakistan. So the same syllabus is for India also and Bangladesh also. The first paper is classical poetry. We are going to start the first poet, that is Geoffrey Chaucer. And a very famous book of Geoffrey Chaucer is included in the first paper and the first book of poet. The famous book is Prologue to the Canterbury Tales. I'm going to start the text from page number 1. Okay, if you can see, I can share the screen so that you can be able to see Prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Okay, now you have seen the screen. So I'm going to now share. You see, this is first page of Prologue to the Canterbury Tales. In Old English, that is English of 14th century. Now listen. So this is all. If you see, it's a general prologue from page. That's general prologue. Actually, we are going to. This is the first page I've discussed with you. This is Old English of 14th century. So students feel some difficulty with Old English. So let me explain. Okay, these are the opening lines with which the narrator begins the general prologue of the Canterbury Tales. The imagery in this opening passage is of spring renewal and rebirth. April's sweet showers have penetrated the dry earth of March. What the poet is saying, try to understand. Hydrating the roots, which in turn coax flowers out of the ground. The constellation Taurus is in the sky. Okay, Zephyr, the warm, gentle west wind, has breathed life into the fields. So this is the message of the poet, and the birds chirp merrily, happily. The verbs used to describe nature's action. What are the verbs? Piercing, engendering, inspiring, and pricking. Okay, conjure up images of conception. This you have to understand how the poet has described. Okay, I think the natural words reawakening aligns with narrator's similarly inspired poetic sensibility. The classical Latin and ancient Greek authors that Chaucer emulated wanted to surpass would always begin their epic narrative poems by invoking a muse or female goddess to inspire them, quite literally to talk or breathe a story into them. Most of them begin singing me or muse about a particular subject. Chaucer too began with the moment of inspiration. You have to note it now here. But in the case, it's the natural inspiration of the earth, okay, reading itself for spring rather than a supernatural being filling the poet's body with her voice. So what the tale is saying, what the poem is saying, what these lines are saying, the poet is saying, after the long sleep of winter, people begin to stir, feeling the need, what he said, gone on pilgrimage, or to travel to a site where one worships a saint's relics as means of spiritual cleansing and renewal, since winter ice and snow made traveling long distances almost impossible. He says this was an age not only before automobiles, but also before adequately developed horse-drawn carriages. Okay, the need to get up stretch one's legs and see the world outside the window must have been great at that time. This was the 14th century, not an age of 21st century. Pilgrimages combine spring vacations with religious purifications. That's why they start gathering from all around England and start their journey towards Canterbury. Okay, this is the way to enjoy nature and to travel. Different types of characters are there. We will describe one by one in the other lectures. I think the landscape in this passage also clearly situates the text in England. It's not a classical landscape like the Troy of Homer's Iliad, or nor is it entirely fictionalized space like the cool groves and rocky cliffs and imaginary Arcadia from pastoral poetry and romances. Chaucer's landscape is also accessible to all types of people. There are different types of people: monk, okay, prioress, okay, there was a knight, so different types of people. But especially, I think those who inhabit the countryside, since Chaucer speaks of budding flowers, growing crops, and singing birds. Okay, for example, if we see the first line, he says, "When that April has his shower sooty, the draught of March has biased to the rooty." What does it mean? The narrator opens the general prologue with a description of the return of spring. It describes the April rains, the burgeoning flowers and leaves, and the chirping birds around this time of year. The narrator says people begin to feel the desire to go on a pilgrimage. Many devout English pilgrims set off to visit shrines in distant holy lands, but even more choice to travel to Canterbury to visit the relics of Saint Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral. That is the way why they want to go to Canterbury. Everybody from England in the month of April, okay, everybody is fresh, okay, where they thank the martyr for having helped them when they were in need. This was the grave of a martyr, okay. The narrator tells us that as he prepared to go on such a pilgrimage, staying at a tavern in Southwark called the Tabard Inn, okay, yeah, that was the inn where everybody stayed there. A great company of 29 travelers entered in that Tabard Inn. The travelers were a diverse group who, like the narrator, were on their way to Canterbury. They happily agreed to let him join them because he got their permission. The poet got their permission that I want to join you, and they happily asked, okay, no problem, you can join. That night, the group stepped at the tabard. Okay, he got the permission, woke up early. The next morning, set out on their journey. Before continuing the tale, the narrator declares his intent to list and describe each of the members of the group. Okay, so this is the whole I told you about. First page. Month of April started, everybody is fresh, okay, and new plants, okay. The rain falls, and the water or drops of the rain give the power, and there are new plants. So this is all about. What is the analysis? The invocation of spring with which the Chaucer, the general prologue begins, is lengthy and formal compared to language of the rest of the prologue. Because this is the beginning of the prologue, I'm going to, that's why I give you some background. Tabard Inn, who was that martyr at Canterbury, why the people they wanted to go, because he gave sacrifice when they were in need. What was the other purpose? The people gathering from all around England and going towards Canterbury. It's a month of March and April. They want freshness, and this is the way of pilgrimage. They do it. So that's the whole story. The first line situates the story in a particular time and place, but the speaker does this in cosmic and cyclical terms, okay, celebrating the vitality and richness of spring. This approach gives the opening lines a dreamy, timeless, unfocused quality, and it is therefore surprising when the narrator reveals that he is going to describe a pilgrimage that he himself took rather than telling a love story. A great describer, the Chaucer, Chaucer, the father of English poetry. Try to understand why they call him father of English poetry, because he's a great poet who described the characters in a way he pointed out when you further reach and one by one to study the character you enjoy with these characters. Pilgrimage is the religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. As a pilgrimage, all the pilgrimages went. Canterbury was not a very difficult destination for an English person to reach. It was therefore very popular in 14th century England. As the narrative mentions, pilgrims traveled to visit the remains of St. Thomas Becket, that Canterbury tale. Okay, he was an archbishop of Canterbury who was murdered in 1170 AD 70. Okay, year by knights of King Henry II. Soon after his death, he became the most popular saint in England. The pilgrimage in the Canterbury Tales should not be thought of as entirely solemn occasion, but because it also offered the pilgrimages. I think not all pilgrimages, but these pilgrims an opportunity to abandon work and take a vacation. Okay, so this is the whole for today. I hope so. You understood the first page. We will continue our lecture for the rest of the book. Wait for the lecture 3, next lecture on YouTube, and do not forget to subscribe this channel. Thank you very much. Bye bye.